Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
CeeLo Productions presents Backstage Access. I'm your co-host, Scott Lowe.
And I'm your co-host, Tony Gonzalez.
And in this podcast, we discuss all things in the world of Christian music and entertainment. All right, thank you for joining us for another episode of Backstage Access. This week, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, we have Devin Williams. Devin, how you doing?
Hey, Scott. Yeah, man, I am doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, Devin.
For sure. Thank you.
And Tony, too. Tony, I got you, too, man.
We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to hang out with us and let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you're about.
Right. Yeah. Let's get into it.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
So, for our listeners who, maybe they know your music, but, they may not know like your story. If you don't mind, man, just kind of sharing your testimony and how that transitioned into your music career.
Awesome. Yeah. So, man, God has been good. It's been a long journey. The music part of it has been long, but I'll start kind of at the beginning. And I'll keep it short, but somewhat short. I'll tell a little bit more. But anyway, God saved me when I was 17. Like he kind of woke me up, opened my eyes to just the reality of our world, that I really needed him. Because when I was a kid, I'd gone to church and, I realized that there was a God. I just didn't want to serve him yet, because I wanted to do my own thing.
Right.
And I was going to high school, and I'll keep some of this story short, but I grew up in California, and my family, my dad moved me back to Kentucky, and for my high school years. And so I was getting ready to graduate, and all I wanted to do was go back to California and live the rock star lifestyle. I had seen the VH1 behind the music, and I'm like, I got to live that life, the life of destruction, really, is what it is. But I just, that's what I wanted, I thought I wanted. And then one night, man, on a Wednesday night, my dad said, hey, why don't you come out to church? It's going to be a short program. It was around, it was in October or something. And it was September, but it was like this angels and demons kind of thing. And it was just a play, so I'm like, cool. So I sit and I watch it. It's short, 30 minutes. And I'm like, oh, great, I can get out of here, And at the end of it, man, this pastor that I had known kind of growing up, so I knew his heart. I knew that, he wasn't just giving lip service. I'm like, I know this guy's real, And, man, he just started saying, hey, man, if you know somebody in here that's not saved, start praying for him, And then I just said, oh yeah, I'll pray. I'm a Christian. And man, God, the words that came out of my mouth were, Lord, if there's anybody in here that's not saved, I pray that you convict them. Because guess who it was?
Yeah, it was you.
Me. It was me, man. It was like a I don't know, a 2-ton brick or anvil was placed on my shoulders right when I said that.
Wow. And
it wasn't condemnation from the devil, or from, self, you know what I'm saying? I didn't feel like, oh, you've done so much wrong. It was like, I need Jesus. I'm lost. Mm-hmm. I need this God, my God, my Savior to get a hold of me. What's going on? I've never felt that before. And, so that night, man, I was 17, decided, okay, God, I want to be a rock star, but of course, this is the early stages of Christian rock. I mean, not before Petra, but you know what I'm saying? In the 90s, man, it was still hard, and it's still hard today. I don't understand, but in the 90s, it was even harder trying to do Christian rock. And so, I was like, God, no, the church isn't going to accept my music. They're not going to accept, and God just said, look, just trust me. Just trust me,
Mm-hmm.
I said, all right, I'm going to do it for you. And he's like, do it for me. And I went up that night, and man, it just changed my destiny, my trajectory. Everything about my life changed in that moment.
Wow.
I'm so thankful for that too. It's just a little small church in the middle of Kentucky where my dad was from. And, it just, began a wonderful relationship conversation with the Lord Jesus, you know?
Mm.
And so I started writing songs, and I graduated high school that same year, just a few months later. And instead of going back to California to live the VH1 lifestyle, you know, behind the music, I said, God, where do you want me to go? And of course, the story's a little longer, but I did wind up going to college at a Bible college down in Lakeland, Florida, called Southeastern. It's a university now. When I went there, it was like solid ministry based. I mean, I still believe it is, but they've gone, you know, a lot more towards the liberal arts, which I think is fine. They got football team and stuff now. But back then, when I went, it was, I mean, maybe 1,200 students, and everybody was, I mean, 90% was on fire for God. Like they were students from all over the country and all over the world, you know, that wanted to see God do something in their lives. And we had like ministry events every week, but sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. We'd go down to the park, we'd go to Orlando, and we'd do all kinds of ministry. So it was just a wonderful time of ministry, kind of growing in my faith, because I'm just like this baby Christian. You know, I know like 2 scriptures. That's all I had memorized, you know, and I think that's all I still got memorized. But anyway, you know, maybe I have a little bit deeper knowledge of the Bible now, but you know, Bible college should have done that. But anyway, so you know, it's so from that point, everything changed. You know, so I started writing Christian music, and all my music stayed the same. You know, like the guitar riffs. I mean, you can't take that out of your blood. You know, rock and roll. But it was interesting because God also began using me in worship. So when I was at Bible college, you know, I started leading worship for the chapel, and then, you know, I was in a worship band that toured and did like summer camps and stuff. But yeah, it's just been, so anyway, my whole career, it's been rock and worship, you know. So I've always been like a worship leader on Sundays, and you know, rock star on Friday night, which we can leave, you know, maybe rocker, because the star part, I don't know if I've got that, but I'm a rocker, dude, through and through, you know.
Right on.
So one of the things I used to tell, or sometimes when I play live, we'll do a few worship songs and that I've written, some original ones, and I'll just tell, you know, hey, rock, you know, is in my veins. You know, rocking big heavy riffs and, you know, head banging and all that, and then that's in my veins. Rock is in my blood, you know, but worship is in my heart. So kind of a funny saying. I don't know. You can quote me on that, but rock will always be in my blood.
Man, I'll tell you what. There's so many people out there who, you know, they don't understand that rock and worship can be one and the same. And,
yeah.
And it's like, you know, there's so many people out there who, you know, like when they think worship, they think, you know, your traditional, you know, praise and, you know, what you may hear at, you know, most churches Sunday mornings. But man, it's the people who genuinely understand the heart and the significance behind the song understand that any song can be worship.
Yeah. You know, when it's just, you know, rock and roll to me is like this explosion of passion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm writing a song or a riff or something, and it's just like, I'm like, God, I mean, and sometimes it's a little painstaking. I don't know if you've talked to some other writers and stuff, but like, if you want something that moves you, you have to dig pretty deep, you know? And I feel like when I write songs and when I write worship, I mean, it's the same concept. You know, I'm digging deep, trying to find not just clever words or poetic words. I want to say something that's going to move people and move me as the singer, because I want to be up on stage and feel it too. You know,
right.
I want to feel the Holy Spirit move through me. But yeah, they do go together. And actually, it's funny because here in Nashville, I mean, a lot of musicians, they play in lots of bands, which I think is awesome. You know, if you got a drummer that plays jazz on Tuesday, you know, progressive rock on Thursday, and then they do the Christian rock on Friday or Saturday, like, you got someone who's well-versed, you know, they can play anything, and they're just so talented.
Mm-hmm.
But what was interesting was one of the drummers I was using, we did a concert on Friday night, and we did, you know, my heavier stuff. and we were going to do worship on Sunday morning because I needed a drummer. I was like, hey man, can you fill in at my church? And when he got there, we were rehearsing, and it was like he was just kind of tapping the drums, like he's like, it's Sunday morning, so I have to be real. I was like, no, come on, man, give me that passion. Just maybe, instead of 100% on the rock thing, let's go about 90, but not much. He had gone from like 100 to like 25, because he was afraid.
Oh wow!
I was like, no, man, it's Sunday. I mean, Sunday morning, it should be just as passionate, but just in a different way,
Right, exactly.
But yeah. So I mean, it's been a long journey, man. I was in Florida going to college, studying music, and Holy Spirit prompted me to join this group called ASCAP, songwriters. And, you've probably heard of like BMI and all that. A lot of guys in Nashville are BMI, but I joined ASCAP, and through that I met this guy who was like, publishing coordinator for a record label. And he was like the first one, that was like, hey, I really like your stuff. Hey, I'm only like 19 years old. He's like, I'd like to help you, get your start. And so anyway, he introduced me to a guy in Nashville. And so I came up here and started working, and haven't quit. The labels thing just didn't work out. I mean, I've talked to lots of labels, and rock is just really challenging, to say the least.
Right.
If you talk to any of the other rock guys, I mean, I'm sure Disciple has had to deal with it, and Skillet even, and Skillet's like the biggest name in Christian rock, and they can stand up with even, the mainstream rock bands. But man, it's been so hard for a lot of guys like myself to get any interest from the labels or funding or management or, any of that stuff. So it's like we're on our own. And, I'll say there were a couple years where I was really questioning God. Like, I think it's okay to question God because he's our father, like we can go to him and talk to him, and not in a disrespectful way, but just like, God, are you sure that you called me to do this? Because it's not what I expected,
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, he's like, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. But, I mean, at least that's what I believe. I mean, that's not like an audible voice or anything. That'd be cool, but that's not
Right.
it. But,
I've thought that so many times.
Me too.
But I get email from people all around the world, lots of teenagers that email, hey man, can you send me the lyrics or the chorus of that song? And,
cool.
And a lot of people that tell me that, this song might, ministered to them, helped them through a dark time or something like that. And that's more important than, touring 200 dates a year or whatever and all that. I mean, I'd love to do that because I feel like I could reach more people, but one step at a time. I mean, I haven't, it's kind of interesting, when I write my songs and I try to infuse my walk, my faith through all those songs. But I remember just something was interesting. My wife and I had been married 5 years, and man, we were hitting the grindstone, you know what I mean? I was going to every meet and greet, playing GMA week, every year. I do like 4 or 5 shows. I'm like, God, how come this isn't working out? And my wife's like, hey, I think I'm ready to have a baby. And I was like, I'm only 25. I'm like, I'm not ready for family, I want to tour the world,
Right.
And she's like, well, it's up to you, but I'm ready, And I was like, I'll get you a puppy or something.
Man, I should have thought of that.
But you know what? I prayed about it, man, and I just felt like God put it on my heart. I didn't feel like it was like, a yes or no, but it was like, I can't put my life on hold for not necessarily a dream, but for something that may not happen the way that I expect.
Right.
Yeah. And so we just decided to go ahead and have a family. So we had 3 kids, and man, it's been wonderful. I've learned so much, like lessons I never really wanted to learn, like parenthood and stuff. But man, like I don't know. I just, my patience is better than it was when I was 25. You know, there's a lot of things that I've grown in, and just trusting God. Wow. Like, you know, when I used to think I trusted him, maybe I wasn't, you know, maybe I wasn't ready for certain things when I was 25, but, you know, God's really, I believe, you know, don't test me right this moment, Lord. But, right. You know, I've walked through some things with God over the years, and he's always been there. He's never failed me. And the music's no different. I mean, I haven't stopped recording and writing and sharing my faith and you know, I mean, just because things don't happen the way that I expect or we expect doesn't mean that God we're not fulfilling his plan, you know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
One of the earliest experiences in the music, I had just finished recording my first project. I did a lot of it at home, and then I went to a studio to like have it mixed. Anyway, I sold like 1,000 of them, 1,000 CDs at college. Yeah. And people were coming up, man, can I get 5 more of those? You know, wow. Actually, like, I mean, back when people bought CDs, they weren't just Frisbees. But it helped me pay for college. But one, this is a funny story. So one spring break, I think it was 1999. Don't tell anybody that's that old, but it was a long time ago. And, it was 2019. Sorry, that's when it was.
Oh, there you go. That's a lot better.
Oh man! But I was in college, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go home for spring break. So I drove. It was like 16 hours to get home. It was a drive, and I'm crazy, so I do it straight through. Listen to my, you know, jam my tunes, and I'm driving. Anyway, I get home at like, you know, 4 or 5 a.m. and I just go to sleep, and then around 10 or 11 in the morning, you know, my phone rings, and back then we used to have caller ID. And so I go over to this little box, and it says, what did it say? Something Mac Powell. I forgot what his first name is. Like, I don't want to say it wrong, but it was something like Billy Mac John. I don't know his first section. I'm sorry. Anyway, it was Mac Powell. And I thought it was a joke, because when I was in school, a lot of people said, hey, you kind of remind me of Mac Powell, you know, like that Third Day, Eddie Vedder sound a little, you know.
Oh, okay.
So I thought it was my friend who's really technically inclined. He could do it if he wanted, but I thought it was him calling me with Mac Powell's name on my caller ID. So I pick it up, and I was like, hey, I just got home, man. This isn't cool. Like, you know, I'm tired. And he's like, this is Mac Powell. You know, and he said, this is Mac Powell.
Yeah, I'm sure. Click.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, this isn't Mac Powell. Like, what? You know, I'm like, the lead singer from Third Day. He's like, oh yeah, that's the band I sing in. You know, and if you've ever talked to Mac Powell, he's got that like Southern, like deep, you know, kind of grizzly bear voice. Even when he talks, it's like,
oh wow, okay,
wow, this guy. I mean, he's like, hey man, you know. But
that's a good one right there, Rick.
So anyway, we talked, and I'm like so tired, you know what I mean? Because I just drove 16 hours. I only got like 5 hours of sleep, so I'm kind of out of it. And but he's just like, hey man, I heard your CD, and it's the one that I just released like maybe 3 months before. And he goes on to tell me that they were playing a show somewhere, and some kid in the audience, while they were doing their sound check, said, hey, you've got to put this in there so Matt can hear it. And so the sound man puts it in. He's like, yeah, whatever, we'll play it. And then Mac heard it and was like, man, I got to find out who this guy is, you know? And so he goes back there to the sound booth, finds out my name and number. And the next day I know I'm getting a call from Mac Powell.
Wow, that's cool.
It was a trip, you know, and we talked for about 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months, actually. He invited me to his house. I never made it there because, you know, I was in college, and I'm like traveling back and forth, and, you know, all the bands I was involved in and stuff. Mm-hmm. But we were going to record, and then it was right before they put out their Time album. And once they did that, they got so busy. And the last thing I heard from him was, hey man, I'm sorry. It just didn't work out, you know, but you know, that's just one of my, experiences in this music industry, and I don't hold Mac, anything against him, man. He was such a cool guy, and he was going to help me. But he got really busy with his band, and
right.
The rest is history, But we did stay in contact even for a few years, because I came to Nashville, and they were playing GMA week, and we got to hang out a little bit one evening. But anyway, long stories. I've got lots more, man.
I'm a little interested, or a lot interested. Your California life, man. Tell us about that. I just read that you were actually born in California, right? Near Fresno. Is that correct?
Yeah. Just outside of Fresno. Nobody knows where Fresno's at. Unless you watch basketball, maybe the Bulldogs, right? Fresno State is there. It's kind of like, and now if you like raisins, that's where I'm from. It's the raisin capital of the world, like right where I grew up.
What's the town you were born in, bro?
A little town called Selma.
Oh, no way. Okay, I know where Selma's at. I'm from California.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do. I'm from California, bro.
Okay, right on, man.
So I'm from Stockton.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know exactly what that is.
Okay, so we weren't too far from Fresno and Selma and Bakersfield, and that whole
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's so cool.
I know.
All my family's still there, man.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
My brothers and sisters, my nieces, nephews, cousins, they're all out there, man.
Wow. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your life back then. Being from California and where you were located, you're very, very close to that Southern California. So I know what you were talking about when you said the whole VH1 thing, that was like North Hollywood, right? The Sunset Strip, all that stuff was going just berserk. And all the way up into the 90s. I mean, it started out in the early 80s, like 81, 82. Well, no, it actually started in the mid to late 70s.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Van Halen, Quiet Riot, those guys got on the scene, and then all of a sudden, all the hair metal bands took off. But tell us a little bit about your life there, man, and your influences, and
Yeah. So my parents were musicians, so music was. I mean, so my mom's she sings like Aretha Franklin. My mother does, and my dad plays organ like Ray Charles.
Awesome, man.
So, I mean, actually, my dad said he got to open for Ray a couple times, and he almost got to meet him. He said one time that they brought him back because Ray wanted to meet my dad, but when he got to the door, he told him to come back later. I don't know what was going on, but anyway. So, I mean, that's just like their style. So, at the time, they were just like everything popular, and my mom could play drums. So like when I was born, it's like I came out of the womb and I'm like, rock and roll, what's going on? Let's play some music,
Right on.
So let me just share this. So my earliest memory and really you shouldn't have memories when you're a baby, but maybe I was traumatized. But anyway, my mom would be playing drums and they'd be practicing. And back then, this particular kit didn't have the head on the backside where you put a pillow in there. So she'd be playing and I'd crawl in there, and I can remember her specifically saying,
"That's awesome.
Get out of there," because she wouldn't hit the kick drum while I was in there. And I was like, "No, but I like it. I want to feel that beat, man."
Right. I'm digging it.
So,
come on.
Yeah, but anyway, so that's like my earliest memory of music. And then my dad actually, his B3, he's got like a 68 Hammond B3 organ.
Wow. Okay.
And he just gave it to me like 6 months ago.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, he toured the country with this thing. I can't imagine carrying this thing. It is so heavy. Even on wheels, it's a pain. But
wow.
Anyway, so those are my earliest memories. But growing up, man, in California, so in the 80s, there was such a mix of music. Like, I was listening to Sir Mix-a-Lot, Ice-T. Let's see, there was like the 80s kind of rappers, of course, Run DMC and stuff like that. And breakdancing was getting popular. And at the same time, we were listening to Metallica,
wow,
Megadeth, like, you know what I mean? So it was just a weird kind of mix of music. And then my parents are doing top 40. So they're singing like Ain't No Mountain High Enough, you know, and Paper Roses. I don't even remember that song. I just know that they used to sing it because they say, oh, I love that song, Paper Roses. But anyway, you know, that kind of stuff. And my dad's doing like boogie woogie style bars and stuff. And so, I mean, it's just plethora, if I could use that word, you know, assortment of music that was being kind of filtered into my brain. And I think it wasn't really Metallica I got into as a kid. I did get into them later. But I just really liked the guitar. It may even have a little bit to do with Back to the Future with Marty
McFly, bro.
Yeah, man. That dude, remember when he stood in front of that big speaker and he was like,
yeah,
let's see, he was like,
that's the opening
let's
scene.
rock, you know? And he hits the chord and he flies and that was, and I loved, what's his name? Johnny B. Good, but,
oh, that's, oh, geez, what's his name?
Actually, that was the first lick I ever learned, man.
Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry, man. I just, you know, so my dad was into this like 50s stuff. They were doing top 40 back then in the 80s. So here I am, like, just, you know, I just love the guitar. My dad is an organ player and a pianist, great, you know, piano player. So I just decided at that point that I didn't want to play piano because that's what my dad played.
Right.
So I started learning guitar, and I don't know. From there, I was like, you know, just I learned Chuck Berry stuff, you know, and just little things like that. And then actually, I did not like being on stage, like or the front man. I didn't want to be up in front. Like, I don't know, I was a little shy, you know. And so I started learning drums because, like, you know what, I could hide behind everybody back here. And man, you know, it was great because I remember being in 6th grade and. I was like, you know, you know, you have all these teams, like, right? You're like getting ready to hit puberty. And I was just frustrated a lot. Yeah. So I would play drums and man, I could just take out all my frustration. And back then, you know, that's when I started getting into like, I even hate to say it, but like Poison and some of those 80s hair bands. But I remember listening to Nirvana for the first time and I thought these guys are terrible. You know, I was like, this is the worst music ever. And one of my friends was like, hey man, you need to check out their CD. Like, just listen to the whole thing. Come back to me tomorrow and let me know. And man, I listened to the whole thing and I was sold at that point. You know, I was like, it may be simpler, but there's an energy to it that's a lot different.
Right.
You know, obviously it kind of changed all of music for the next 20 years, you know.
Oh yeah, it definitely took out all the hair metal bands. Bam, they were just flatlined, just like that. Once grunge hit the scene, that was it.
But yeah, I mean, grunge changed everything, right? I mean, but I'll just say I was, you know, even in 6th grade, 7th grade, I can't remember, but you know, I was a little reluctant. I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're not as good as like Van Halen. You know, these guys, Van Halen, they can play circles around these guys as far as musically. But there was something new and something that, you know, man, there was just like a soul in the music that didn't have before. You know, it was like moving.
Right.
And that's when I started getting into like Soundgarden and which Chris Cornell. I wasn't like one of their first albums. I didn't hear him and go, oh gosh, Chris Cornell's amazing. But I picked up their Super Unknown album when it first came out. Like it was a week of, you know, release or whatever. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to give these guys a listen. And I couldn't stop listening to the Super Unknown album. I'm like, this thing is amazing. Yeah. And then I went back and started listening to his earlier stuff. And then there's all kinds of a controversy on MTV and stuff. I mean, I was going to church. My dad, you know, used to make me go a little bit. So, you know, I had to kind of stop listening a little bit to some of that. And I remember somebody giving me my first Petra tape, you know, and then I thought the musicianship was good. I just felt like, and the songwriting was good. I just felt like it was a little dated because everything was moving towards this grunge sound, you know, and they still sounded like 1989, you know. But man, I in California, so I moved back and forth from Kentucky to California because my dad was trying to sell the house, and like I said, my family's still out there, so we'd stay with them and visit like during the summers and stuff. But man, Guns N' Roses had just come out with their Use Your Illusions records.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I was eagerly awaiting that record, and then they were like, "Oh, it's going to take another year because they're going to do a double album." I don't know if you remember or heard about it, but they were really just going to be one album, and then they turned it into two.
Yep.
But man, it was so wild. Like, and I mean, you know, God saved me at a young age, so I didn't really get into like heavy drugs or anything like that. But I think I was 13, and I didn't even do drugs, but at the time. But I remember my sister and I were heading home. We were, you know, in the car, probably on Shaw Avenue there in Fresno, Clovis. If you've ever heard of Shaw, it's like one of the longest roads ever.
Oh, okay.
Everything on square blocks there. And we're driving and we're listening to the radio, and the guy comes on. He's like, "All right, guys, this is the brand new one from, you know, Guns N' Roses. It's Civil War," you know. And I mean, no one. I mean, if you haven't heard that song, it is, you know, it's epic.
Yeah.
And so here I am, 13 years old, and the guy puts it on, and I guess I just zoned out. Like for 5 minutes, I was just like rocking out, just enjoying myself because I love guitars and rock and roll. Mm-hmm. And when the song was over, my sister very politely, gently turns the radio off, you know, just turns it down and off. And she looks at me, she says, "Devin, you know, are you smoking marijuana?"
Well done.
Oh, man. And I just looked at her. I was like, "No." I mean, I'm like a little kid, you know. I wasn't into that, you know. And she's like, "Well, just don't smoke pot," you know. I love music so much. I just, you know, that passion, whatever. But anyway, that's some of that growing up. But you know, those are my earliest influences, and I would say that you know, some of that stuff still influences me a little bit. I mean, you know, there's certain melodies and guitar riffs and things that just stick with you. That, you know, they come kind of. I'll just say when it comes to like my music, my style, and everything, I don't sit down and say I'm going to write a song like this band or like that band, or even when I write worship songs, I don't think I want to make this sound like Elevation, whatever. I sit down and I just write whatever the Holy Spirit gives me. Now I'll say all those bands and all those songs that I've listened to kind of go into, you know, the grinder, you know, right. into the heart, into the spirit. And it's just kind of things that I can pull from for different ideas, you know, and but I definitely don't, I mean, there are some guys that do that. A lot of producers, sometimes you know, cause somebody will come to them and say, "I want a song that sounds like this." So producers can do that. And I guess I could too, but you know, I always try to write as original as I can and heartfelt. But
that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's that. I remember sitting at the breakfast table because back then everybody read the newspapers, you know, and I was staying with my sister, and her husband was like, "So you're going to be a rock star, huh?" I'm like 13, you know, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, I want to someday." He's like, "Oh, here's your buddy Axel," and he was in the Fresno paper, like he had broken a law or something, was a whole thing. And he's like, "Yeah, that's what you want to be." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to be that. I just like the music, you know. I like playing music. I don't want to get in trouble, you know."
Right.
But anyway, I'm so thankful that, you know, God changed my direction and all that. Cause, you know, when I was sitting there, that night that I, you know, decided to really trust God, that was the question, was like, God was asking me, he's like, "Hey, are you sure you want to pursue that?" And I started thinking about, you know, all the bands that I could kind of idolize a little bit. And I thought, no, their lifestyles are terrible. Right. You know, they have 5 wives, and they're strung out on drugs, or maybe they're already dead. You know, some of them had already died, you know, and it's like, Holy Spirit was like, "Look, if you do this music thing for me, you know, you're going to have all the things that in life that you could," I mean, and now that's not like, I mean, I think that's a promise, right? In the Bible, like if you serve him, he's going to bless you. I mean, it may not be what you think, right? But because I'll just say, actually, so the other day I was in the studio. I'm actually working on some brand new music. I want hopefully get to share that in a few months with you guys.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Maybe in the spring.
Cool.
But I'm in the studio working on some new stuff, and I'm sitting here talking to the producer. And we're sitting there, and he's in his mid-30s, single guy, great dude. And he's he loves music. He does it full time. He does all kinds of different artists, worship bands, metal bands. He does it all.
Oh, nice.
And I was just telling him, kind of, I don't really gripe a whole lot, but just sharing, that, man, it's a tough thing. I've worked as hard as I know, and just haven't really had the success that I wanted. And then he's like, well, you seem pretty successful. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you're married, you have kids, you've got a job that pays the bills. Like, you have a nice car, you have right. music online, you've got listeners, you got fans all over the world. And I'm like, well, I guess that is. I mean,
he's got a pretty good argument there, bro. He's kind of got you.
I was like, man, I can't complain. I cannot complain, man. God has been so good, and
right.
It hasn't been easy. You've had to work hard. I think, a lot of blessings are just, it's really hard work that God gives us an opportunity,
right.
to go out and work, and then usually He blesses it. Like, so you may have only expected a little bit, and then God blesses that work. At least that's the way I kind of view it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm happily married. My wife and I spend a lot of time together, and we actually lead worship sometimes together. She doesn't like singing every week with me, but she'll get up there and sing with me, about twice a month. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. That's really cool.
Good deal.
Yeah, I like what you said about that. I mean, the level of success is really just kind of how you look at it.
I don't. Either way, I feel like it's whatever. I just trust God, and whatever He has for me, I need to just be satisfied with. That was a scripture God put on my heart years ago. Is just being, not confident, but content. Being content where God puts us, whether it's in front of 5 people or 5,000,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. We've heard, stories of people, who have been more impacted, by, those smaller gatherings and, more intimate shows, and I personally, believe, that especially, for Christian artists that, if you can't be humble and enjoy the blessing that you have of 15 or 20 people showing up to hear your music, then you don't deserve to have, 2,000 or 3,000 people showing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I definitely think that God can use that, to definitely humble people.
Well, I think I had a good role model kind of when I was starting off, because I was in Bible college, and Skillet used to come and play around Central Florida all the time.
Oh wow!
And we one night the church said, "Hey, we're hosting Skillet this weekend, and you want to come into the show?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll go." And we went, and I'm telling you, this was a 10,000 seat church, like auditorium. It was huge.
Wow!
And I think about 50 people came.
No,
like wow. I felt
seriously.
Yeah, dude, it was. Yeah, and
wow.
so it was kind of in the early days, and you wouldn't tell by the band. They got up there, John got up there. He had a kind of a different, I think he had a different drummer. He had a guy drummer at the time, a different guitar player. But I mean, and I think his wife had just started playing piano or, synth and stuff back then. And they got up there and did their show. Like, they rocked it out. He shared the gospel, and he didn't do anything different than what he would have done if there were 10,000. And I just thought, man, these guys are real. John's real.
Yeah.
And I still stand by that today, man. He is such a, I don't know, I feel like he really does take a stand for his faith. Not everybody's going to agree with him, but, I feel like he is taking a stand and being a light in the world.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But I was going to say, we were talking about influences, and I don't want to leave out a couple of the Christian artists, because
nice.
Of course Skillet was an influence, but I'll say, so after I got saved because I actually didn't want to get saved, but God saved me like before Like when he saved me, it was like, I just knew I needed to be saved. You know, it wasn't like, I want to be like, Skillet or anything like that. It was just, I want to be saved. That's the end of that, or the beginning of that. Right. But after, like, I'm telling you, like 2 months later, somebody said, "Hey man, you've got to hear some good Christian music," because at the time I was still listening to Soundgarden, and I was trying to like make that change. Like, I need some good Christian music. We didn't have Spotify back then, Right. It was all word of mouth. And so somebody gave me, it just come out, the DC Talk Jesus Freak record. And that thing, I don't know, man, it changed my view of music. It was the first like modern sounding Christian rock record that I had ever heard. It was perfect for the times, because it had like the Jesus Freak song sounded a lot like Nirvana, and it wasn't too far, what I mean? Like, 'cause sometimes Christian music is a few years behind, so it sounded a little bit like Nirvana, and Nirvana was still around, so it was like, oh, okay. So but it was done in a different way. So it wasn't like they were copying it, but it was like the sound of the day, the way I kind of think about it. But, and then you could listen to that album from the first song to the end. I mean, there were some poppier songs on there, but they were still cool, So anyway, I got to give them props. It was interesting because I did go back and like try to listen to some of their earlier stuff, and I just couldn't get into it, man. Like, love is a verb, I don't know if you remember any of that, but I did applaud them for kind of moving and adjusting with the times.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I think Christian music too, once the Lord got a hold of me and I, kind of made the change from, really kind of dark, evil music, to, cause I was a big Alice in Chains fan too. I still like their tones and the music style, what they sing about, it's kind of dark. I mean, you can't get away from that, but
I don't think there is any light in that band, man.
No.
Yeah. All of their music has been really dark, really heavy.
Yeah. But I feel like God really opened my mind too to like other styles of music, So, I was listening to DC Talk was kind of a good transition because they had a few heavy songs, back then. But then it was like somebody gave it like a Stephen Curtis Chapman album, which, I'm not a big fan of the style, but his musicianship, I was like, man, this is, he's a good songwriter. He can play guitar, he can entertain a crowd, I'm like, this guy's cool, So, I mean, as a musician and as an artist, I feel like God was really opening my mind to other styles and other artists that are different than me, but I can still learn from.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then, who was it? I wound up getting all the way to like Phil Keaggy. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but I remember learning some of his guitar things. He's like, the guitar, Christian God, the guitar God, but the Christian guy, He was like the Van Halen of the Christians,
Nice.
For Christians. He could play, man, and he can play. He's still around. But if you've never checked out Phil Keaggy, it's kind of like not in the 80s. He's more like 60s, like Beatles kind of sound, but he plays like Van Halen, like some of his solos and stuff.
Wow.
He's amazing.
Wow.
And then he does this like classical picking with steel guitar. It's like unbelievable, the stuff he's written and played. So I don't know, just like the Lord like really expanded my music taste, for all the way. And then I don't know. And then I went to college and studied jazz guitar, Bible college.
Oh, nice.
Jazz and classical and and so here I am in the jazz band and they're like, hey, what chords do you know? And I'm like, well, I can play down and out, down,
Right.
or if you remember that one song, Colored People by DC Talk, it had a cool little guitar riff. And they were like, that's cool, but now you're going to have to learn a C7 augmented 9.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so jazz is like, oh, man, it's another world, bro. I was like, we got this diminished chord on the 7th fret. I was like, dude, stop.
But,
right.
I feel like I always pull from stuff like that, though.
Right.
But at the same time, whenever I write, I try to detach my brain from the theory, from music theory, because I want to just, whatever I feel, I want to write, And sometimes it's like, maybe it doesn't fit exactly into the chord progression, but it feels right.
Right.
But then sometimes I'm like, hey, I really need a chord here. And then I'll plug in my music theory brain and go, oh yeah, I'm supposed to go to here. This is a 2 minor, something like that. But
Devin, we really, really appreciate you being here with us tonight, man. But before we get off the phone with you, we did want to to give our listeners an opportunity to be able to hear, how they can stay up to date with you, how they can follow you, support you in any way. Man, if you just want to, take a few minutes and let our listeners know and, how they can support you and how they can follow you so they can see what you got going on.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. So there's a few places, everybody has their social media of choice. I am on Instagram, so I usually post updates there, and that same update will go to Facebook, my Facebook page. Some people like Facebook a little better. But those are kind of the main two, Instagram and Facebook. And those, if you guys want to check out my stuff, my music and updates, it's, Instagram.com or whatever. And then it's my handle or whatever they call it now, my name, my username. Mm-hmm. It is Devin Inc. So it's Devin Inc. Like Incorporated. Okay. So it's just at Devin Inc. And, I go on I don't know. I've tried to come up with a formula to kind of, so I could go on it and do it more than, just once, because it's hard to keep track of all those sites. So, I go on Instagram and usually post there, and then it transfers over to Facebook. So if you have both, you're going to see it twice. But, so I'm actually working on a brand new record right now. So far we're at 5 songs. We may add one more. I really wanted to do 10, but the music industry has changed so much. And listening has changed. So people want singles. So I really want to get something out soon. So hopefully, we'll have a single in a few months. But Devin Inc. is on Instagram. And then, I made my Facebook page years before. So it's a little different. It's just Devin W. That's it. So you go to facebook.com/Devin W. Okay. And so that's the 2 different places. Now, if you want to go to my website where you can have a store on there, I'm actually running low on a few items like T-shirts and stuff. But with the new album, I'll be making new stuff, and so we'll hopefully get some stuff out there. But the website is just www.devinw.com.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so I try to keep it as simple as possible because, when you're typing in a long email or website or something, so it's just my first name and my first initial of last name.com.
Okay. Good deal. Cool. But yeah, man, we really, really appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I know.
Pleasure talking with you guys, man.
Yeah, man, likewise, brother.
It's been a blast.
Yes,
so I look forward to seeing you again. And, like we said earlier, despite how difficult it is, man, God has really blessed you to be where you're at, and your music has been impactful to so many people, dude. All right, Devin. Well, like I said, we really, really appreciate it, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Devin. You have a good night,
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you,
buddy.
Have a good one.
Okay.
God bless you.
Bye. God bless. Bye.